Good morning. Welcome to the third annual presentation of Parenting to Protect Our Children from Sexual Assault. My name is Kathy Wong. I am the Program Director of the Needham CAP program. We are sponsored by the Needham Community Council, a private nonprofit organization which supports people in Needham who have undermet health, educational, or social needs, and promotes volunteerism, community, and a sense of shared responsibility. The Needham CAP program also receives funding from the Needham Exchange Club and the elementary school PTCs. I would like to thank the Needham Continuing Education, NCE, for including this presentation as part of their parent university. I am joined today by Kim Freeman, Director of the Newton and Brookline CAP program, which is sponsored by Family Access of Newton. Kim is here to assist me and help me manage questions. The goal of this presentation is to provide information to support all caregivers of elementary-aged children. In the next 30 minutes, I will present a brief overview of CAP and its history. Within the myth and fact slides, the focus will be on prevention, and there will be suggestions on what you can do to empower children to be safer. Throughout the presentation, you can put your questions in the Zoom chat. If you direct them to Kim, she may be able to answer them in the chat. The rest of the questions I will address at the end of the presentation. If you need to leave before then, please feel free to email me any unanswered questions. Kim has included the email in the chat. The Child Assault Prevention CAP program is an internationally recognized, highly acclaimed primary prevention program which addresses child abuse as an assault against children's basic human rights to be safe, strong, and free. For language to assist you in talking with your children about what safe, strong, and free means, I would direct you to our CAP Adult Information Guide. A link is in the chat window. For those who are watching the recording, the link will be available at the end of the presentation. I will be referring to this resource throughout the presentation. You may want to open it now and bookmark it. CAP began in response to an unfortunate incident of a second grader raped in Columbus, Ohio in 1978. The parents of the school children began to notice their children exhibiting behaviors that children typically demonstrate when they are fearful: bedwetting, nightmares, fear of being alone. In an effort to help the children feel less vulnerable and more empowered, they went to the staff at the local Women Against Rape chapter because they had been doing amazing things with adult women around issues of sexual assault. It was there that the CAP program was first created. It has been described as one of the most comprehensive and innovative prevention programs in the world. The CAP program is designed to reduce victimization by empowering children with information, strategies, and resources. In a study from Rutgers University in New Jersey, it was found that children who had received the CAP program had statistically significant higher levels of self-esteem and greater knowledge of how to handle bullying, abuse, and assault situations than children who had not received the intervention. In addition, CAP participants were more willing to report abuse to trusted adults. In 1994, CAP was brought to Needham through the Exchange Club. CAP recognizes there are 4 types of abuse: neglect, emotional, physical, and sexual. Today's presentation will be focusing on child sexual abuse. Here's the first myth or fact statement. Only girls are vulnerable to sexual assault. What do you think? Is this a myth or a fact? Well, the answer is it's a myth. First of all, boys are assaulted as well as girls. The international data supports that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 13 boys will be sexually assaulted before they reach the age of 18. A recent study indicates that LGBTQ children with disabilities, and youth of color may be at twice the risk of child sexual assault. Some would say the victimization of boys are more significant than this data because they're less likely to report. Different studies have slightly different variations in these numbers, but they all highlight that this is a problem for all children. These numbers may seem high to us. They include all forms of sexual behavior directed at a child, not only rape. They include molestation, incest, exhibitionism, voyeurism, and forced participation in pornography. Because this issue is so prevalent, there are likely to be survivors among us today. It is important that we treat this issue with sensitivity and understanding during our time together. The fact is that children of all demographics are vulnerable to sexual assault. It happens in all income levels, geographies, and sexual orientation. Second statement, children are usually assaulted in lonely places, a deserted playground, a park, a dark street, or somewhere they shouldn't have been. Is this a myth or a fact? Well, this is a myth. Unfortunately, children can be assaulted anywhere. They can also be assaulted while others are around them. In over half the reported cases, the assault takes place in either the home of the victim or the home of the offender. We hear and read about these stories in the news and newspapers and feel they are happening to other people in other countries. And they are, but they are also happening to people we know here. Children are more likely to be assaulted by strangers. Is this a myth or a fact? Well, this is also a myth. Depending on what study you look at, the statistics show a child knows the offender in anywhere from 85 to 95% of the cases. Not only knows, but usually has a loving and trusting relationship with that person. Since children are more likely to be assaulted by a known person, we should discuss the grooming process. Known perpetrators, relatives, friends, teachers, coaches, babysitters, etc., are experts at tricking not only the victim, but also the family and community around them to view them as trustworthy. Perpetrators try to desensitize children to any uncomfortable touch. We need to teach children to be assertive about their bodies. If they don't want to kiss grandma goodbye, or they don't want to sit on Santa's lap, our first instinct is to make them do it. But it's not a good idea to force them. In our CAP Children's Workshop, we use role plays to demonstrate an uncomfortable situation and ask the children, how can you tell a role player didn't like the touch or kiss? They identify body language, trying to move away, facial expression, won't make eye contact. Even the role player's voice sounds intimidated. Children learn to trust their gut instinct. Bribes are also universally used by known adult perpetrators. Children should know what a bribe is and what it seeks to accomplish. In our CAP workshops, we define a bribe as a trick used to give a child something they want, but then the child has to do something that makes them feel scared or unsafe. We emphasize when children feel scared or unsafe, they need to tell an adult about what happened. Perpetrators often ask children to keep secrets. In our CAP workshop, we ask children to provide examples of a safe secret. And we define a safe secret as one that doesn't hurt them or anyone else. The workshop also demonstrates an unsafe secret in a role play. The children are able to identify that it's not a safe secret because it makes a person feel sad, unsafe, scared, and all alone. They are quick to tell us the secret should not be kept and identify their trusted adults as people they can tell. We'll talk a little later about trusted adults. A link to our adult information guide is already in the chat window. Page 20 explains or expands on safe and unsafe secrets. Known adult perpetrators may threaten someone or something the child cares about, like a family member or a family pet, in order to maintain secrecy. For the 15% of assaults by unknown perpetrators, we not only need to be on the lookout for the strangers who are on the streets or in the malls, but also the ones interacting and building relationships without our knowledge with our children online through social media, online games, texting. The strategies we will introduce can also be used to keeping children safe from online perpetrators. Avoidance is the best method to prevent potentially dangerous situations. This is a myth or a fact. Is the best way to prevent children from drowning is by keeping them out of the water? Well, this is a myth. Isn't a better way to prevent children from drowning is to teach them how to swim? If we don't teach a child how to swim and the child has a scary situation and almost drowns, the child feels responsible because they should have not gone near the water. They become responsible for their own victimization. This is the same as blaming women for being raped because of what they wore. Sometimes parents, guardians, caregivers, and even teachers are afraid of frightening or confusing children, so limit the information given to them. We need to remember that information provided in an age-appropriate way about anything makes us less vulnerable and less fearful. Let me give you another example. Many parents, guardians, and trusted adults or caretakers, caregivers teach children to hold an adult's hand and look both ways before crossing the street. Isn't it just as important for you to talk to your children about unsafe secrets and unsafe touches as it is to teach them how to cross the street? We know this is a much more difficult topic to address, and CAP is here to help you. Using positive information and empowering strategies, you can teach children how to face a difficult and uncomfortable and potentially dangerous situation with more confidence. That's what we encourage in our children's workshop. Positive strategies that encourage strength and non-victimization of children. Children need to be careful, not fearful. Page 10 of the Adult Information Guide begins the topic, how do I talk to my child about abuse? Children should never challenge adult authority. Is that a myth or a fact? I'll be honest, I have used this phrase because I've said so, especially when my children constantly ask why they must wear a hat in the winter while we are late getting them out the door to school, and I am stressed about making it into the office for a very important presentation. Well, this is a myth. What do you think the unintended consequences are when we teach children never to challenge adult authority? When adults give no explanation, no reasons why, they are setting children up to comply to any demands made to them from a person in authority. Although this may be necessary if a child is in danger of getting hit by a car, it should not be the way a child normally responds to an adult request. Children need to know that adult authority is not always absolute. There are times when their rights or their feelings supersede adult authority. They need to know how to recognize those times and have the strategies to deal with them. In our children's workshop, we teach children they have the right to challenge someone that makes them feel unsafe or uncomfortable. you can rest assured that we still tell them that they need to listen to you when you ask them to eat their veggies or get ready for bed. But you can help your child say no by understanding the difference between safe and unsafe situations. The books shown on this slide are included in the resources provided at the end of the presentation and is posted in the chat. We adults don't usually like to hear these, and I know I didn't when I first started with CAP. We can teach our children to listen to their inner feelings and express how they want to be treated. Sometimes games of tickling or roughhousing can be great fun and important opportunities for affection. But sometimes they cross the line and can be frightening or hurtful. What are the unintended consequences of persisting in a game when the child begs, even between giggles, for us to stop? We can teach our children they have the right to set appropriate limits on touching when we stop and listen to them. It'll teach them to stand their ground if they find themselves in even more precarious situations. Signs of sexual abuse is obvious. Is this a myth or a fact? Well, this is a myth. If it was obvious, we would not have the statistics and data reported earlier. Some signs of abuse are behavioral and can be tricky to recognize. Changes in children's behavior may be an indicator of abuse, but they can also be signs of stress. Our jobs as parents and guardians and caretakers are to look for signs of stress and to find out what's behind them. A change in a child's behavior could be due to stress of being abused. Abuse causes children stress, but other things can also cause stress. And keep in mind that some things we call clues can be normal behavior for a given child at a given time. So when you see stress, it might be physical, it might be changes in activities or habits, or age inappropriate behavior. You don't want to make any assumptions. Instead, you want to start communication with the child. It's time to ask direct questions in a calm and comforting way. You may ask general questions about the behavior you're seeing. Are you having a hard week? Is anything making you unhappy? Are you worried about something? How can I help you? You can also ask specific questions about abuse. They may be harder to ask, but they can make a big difference in helping a child to start talking to you. For example, is anyone scaring you or confusing you or making you feel bad? Is anyone hurting you? Is anyone telling you to keep something a secret? Is there something you wish you can tell me but are afraid to? What can I do to help you right now? These suggestions start on page 30 of the Adult Information Guide. Research shows that the impact of abuse may be mitigated or have less long-term negative consequences on a child if a caring adult responds in an effective way. Children with limited access to support are more vulnerable to abuse. Is that a myth or a fact? This is a fact. Just like adults, children need a support system. Perpetrators use isolation to keep control over a child with statements like, "If you tell, no one will believe you." In our CAP workshop, we teach children to keep telling until they find someone who will listen to them, believe them, and get them help. And that it's best to tell right away so that they can get help right away. Page 20 of the Adult Information Guide talks about how abuse thrives on secrecy and how you can practice talking with children so that they will feel comfortable talking with us when they have a problem. What do you think the unintended consequences is if we tell children we don't talk about family problems outside the family? This may teach them that they have to solve the problem on their own and not to seek help. Not talking about a problem doesn't solve the problem. You can help children recognize their support system. Give children permission to talk to other adults both inside and outside the family. One way CAP assists with this is the 5-finger network sheet. This is provided to third graders after completing a CAP workshop. Children trace their left and right hands on the sheet. On the left hand, for each finger, they write a trusted adult who they feel they can safely share their feelings with. Then on the right hand, on each finger, they write a place where they feel safe. Location of this worksheet is provided in the resources at the end of the presentation. In a CAP workshop, we hear children identify teachers, school guidance counselors, coaches, as well as grandparents, aunts and uncles as their trusted adults. It never hurts to let these trusted adults know that your child may come to them if they ever had a problem. Anytime there's an increase in isolation, whether it's due to a pandemic or any other reason, children's supports are removed from them. This is also true for us adults. Isolation can increase stress, and we need to remember to tap into our own support network. Here is our last myth or fact. In our CAP workshop, we asked children, do adults always believe what we say? Their answer is a resounding no. Being a good listener is probably the most important thing we can do for our children when they are having a problem, but it's not always easy. Assess the child's safety needs. If you are busy when they come to you, establish language or key words so that you know that it's something that can wait or if it's important, like I don't feel safe. Come up with a suggestion of when you can talk, if it can be during dinner or if it needs to be a private conversation, maybe when you're driving them to an activity or running an errand. If a child has been abused, there are some key things the child needs to hear from you immediately. I believe you. It's important for you to believe the child and tell them that, especially if the abuser has told the child that you won't. I'm glad you told me. Stay calm and be patient. Sometimes they are too young to explain or don't have the language to explain what happened. It's not your fault. Validate the child's feelings and ensure the child that it's not their fault, especially if the abuser has tried to make them feel guilty. You're not alone. Let the child know you will be there with them and that they have the right to be safe. I'm going to help you. Let the child know what actions you will take. And I love you. The most important thing that you can do is reassure them of your love. These statements and more context are on page 32 of the Adult Information Guide. Communicate with children. Set the groundwork with them now while they're still young and want to talk with you. It will make it easier for them to come to you for help by making yourself available for regular talks with them. Be an askable parent, guardian, or trusted adult. Children learn to avoid sensitive topics because they sense the adult's discomfort. They don't want to make us angry, or perhaps they want to protect us. Children feel safe knowing they can depend on you to talk about and listen to whatever is on their mind. By not being an askable parent, guardian, or trusted adult, or not helping them expand their support network, you risk the child turning to the wrong person for support. Talk with them about their daily activities. Show you're interested and keep the conversation going by using phrases like, Tell me about it. Or then what happened? Let them know you understand by rephrasing their comments. Include a question or statement that acknowledges how they feel. Watch and believe the child's body language. They may be saying nothing is wrong, but their bottom lip is quivering. It's okay to say, "You look sad to me. Do you want to tell me about it?" Sometimes asking a reluctant child what is making it hard to talk opens the way for a conversation. You may even say something like, "When I was young, I worried that my parents would yell at me or blame me if something was wrong. Are you feeling like that?" Give nonverbal support and encouragement too. A wink, a smile, a pat on the back, a squeeze of a hand all help the child know that you are there for them. We hope you put into practice some of the suggestions we've offered as we debunk some myths about child sexual abuse. You can be the child's most important prevention educator. By teaching children accurate words for their body parts or doctor words, they can report a problem and be better understood and believed. Teaching children about unsafe touches, I'm not talking about just touches of private parts, but of all touches that make a child feel uncomfortable, frightened, or scared. For young children, it may be that oh feeling. Let the children know that they can say no if they don't like the way someone is touching them or making them touch the other person. Teach children how to say no effectively. Page 12 of the Adult Information Guide can help you teach children to say no using their voice as well as their actions. Let them know that they can stand up for themselves. Let children know it's okay to say no to anyone, including adults, if someone is doing something to hurt them or something that they know is wrong. Tell them, I want you to know you can say no again and again. You don't have to be polite and get into a conversation with someone who's trying to hurt them. During CAP workshops, we teach children the difference between safe and unsafe secrets. We tell them a safe secret doesn't hurt them or anyone else. And examples of safe secrets are surprise birthday parties or a gift. An unsafe secret makes them feel sad, scared, uncomfortable, frightens them, makes them worry, or feel all alone. And they feel they can't get any help from someone because they are told not to tell. Children are taught the difference between tattling and telling in school, but it would be good that we use common language to reinforce the difference. We remind children that tattling is just telling to get someone in trouble, like letting a teacher know if a child is not paying attention in class. Telling is to get help to keep the child's rights to be safe, strong, and free. When we ask fifth graders why it's hard to tell, we hear they are embarrassed to tell, no one listens, they're not always believed by adults, or afraid of getting into trouble if they tell. Sometimes we hear grown-ups will be disappointed in me or mad at me. Let children know they should keep telling until they find someone who will listen to them, believe them, and will help them, and that it's never too late to tell, but to try to tell right away so that they can get help right away. Be clear with them, it's not their fault. If they do something that they didn't want to do, or they felt forced or bribed into doing it, or couldn't say no in that moment, ensure them that it's not their fault. The best thing to do is to tell someone so that they can get some help. CAP has also prepared a list of books and videos on all the topics that we cover. A link is in the chat. Some provide rules to live by. Others are storybooks. Whether you use these or other books, videos, or movies, you can pause during the story and ask how the child in the story is feeling. Maybe even how their aggressor is feeling. Powerful, strong. You can ask, is that a good way to feel strong? Is the child's rights to be safe, strong, free being taken away? How should the child respond to the situation? Like in school, you can ask your child to draw a picture or write a sentence showing what they would do or say or who they would tell. You can also play the what if game. You could play this anywhere, in the car, while sharing a snack. It's a lot like role playing. You set the scene, and the game is probably more fun if it's not always a safety scenario. But for our purposes, it can be used to describe a situation where someone is trying to hurt a child, or you see it happening to someone else. Then get your child involved by asking questions. First, assess the situation. What's going on here? How is the child feeling? How is the grown-up feeling? Is the child keeping their rights to be safe, strong, and free? What would you say? What would you do? Who would you tell to get help? You can find more information about the What If game in the Adult Information Guide, starting on page 26. I suggest you read the whole section. It gives 3 different examples of situations that you can use. We encourage you to visit our CAP website to access many of the resources we have talked about. It can provide you with comforting and empowering language to address such sensitive topics with children. The link is in the chat so that you can open up the webpage and bookmark it for later. On the slide are resources included in the website. One thing we haven't talked about is if you have concerns for a child showing signs of stress for any reason. You have people and places you can turn to. You should start with your child's school. They have trained resources like the teacher, guidance counselor, social worker, or school psychologist. There are agencies where you can report abuse, organizations that can provide advice and treatment for a child in crisis, and there are organizations that can provide educational services for your parent group. I thank you for your time, and I'll take your questions now. Let's see, I'm just looking through the chat window to see if there's any questions. Kim, did you get any text to you?
No, not directly to me.
Okay. Let's see. If there are no questions right now, I can give an example of how to use the what if game. You can ask your child or set up the situation where, what if someone who is taking care of you knows our family rules are no sweets before meals, but they offer you ice cream or cake as a snack before lunch? After you've eaten the sweets, they tell you that you have to give them a kiss, or that they're going to tell your parents that you broke the rules. You can ask your child, would you tell me about what happened? Especially if they keep making you do things that you don't feel safe doing. You can reinforce that you would never be upset with them if they tell you about an unsafe situation, and reinforce that it's not their fault. That's an example of a situation you can use in the what if game. Let's see if there's, I don't think I see any other questions. Well, I thank everyone for your time in joining us, and my email is in the chat window, and please visit the website. There's lots of resources there that you can use to help your child stay safe, strong, and free. Thank you and have a wonderful morning. Bye.